Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo. Today we take a dirty word apart. We talk about sex with Hans Billy Moria of the Grassrooted Trust. And there's a brief glimpse of hair in COVID with President of the Sri Lanka Association of Hairdressers and Beauticians, Nayana Karunaratne, and we also find out how we can get online education on track with Dr. Harsha Alas, a member of the Presidential Task Force on Education. And in Life in 60, we ask some little people about what they loved about curfew. And now, your news capsule for the week. We begin with news from the Sri Lankan apparel industry. Despite getting new orders for personal protective equipment, Sri Lanka's apparel industry's year-on-year revenue dropped by a shocking 83% in April. That's $280 million. And the year-on-year drop during the first 4 months of this year is $500 million. The only growth sector currently is activity-based lifestyle brands due to consumers focusing more on health, on the outdoors, and of course, well-being. Global data forecasts that COVID-19 will wipe out $297 billion from the global apparel market in 2020. Due to buyers defaulting, Bangladesh is offering consumers the chance to buy clothes directly from their factories. Now that might be an option for our Sri Lankan apparel factories. In April, tea production in Sri Lanka dropped to a 27-year low, with only 20 million kilograms being produced. In the first 4 months of 2020, Sri Lankan tea export earnings have fallen by $82 million. And in more falling numbers, also in April, Sri Lankan overseas workers' remittances plunged 32% to $375 million, one of the biggest drops recorded in the recent past. And now, the weekly news from the Colombo Stock Exchange, where the hours of trading have been extended to 2:30 every day. The all-share price index is up this week by 1.6%, and the average daily turnover is a modest 1 billion rupees. Hair and beauty salons have reopened in Sri Lanka. So how is that business adapting to the new normal? President of the Sri Lanka Association of Hairdressers and Beauticians, Nayana Karunaratne, joins us on the show.
Nayana, you've now been at work or all the hairdressers have been at work now for about a week or so. How has it?
Yes, about 10 days.
How has it been?
Very welcome, because we were very frustrated and we were very poor and we were quite lost. But a lot of restrictions. It's very stressful, I would say, to more than follow the rules. I'm not worried about the rules, but the protective gear we have to wear is very uncomfortable to work, Savi. So, but we are managing. We are happy about it. We are managing, and few services, less people, less staff, only by appointment. But we are managing, and it's getting better. It's slowly but surely opening.
Good to hear. What services are you not offering at this time?
We are not allowed threading, because it opens the mouth and too close. We are not allowed beard trims for the gents, and we are not allowed facials. But we are allowed cuts and hair services, some of them. Waxing, threading, manicure, pedicure, those things are allowed.
Only 30% of Sri Lankan students have access to online education. So, if online education is going to be a success, we have to address certain issues. Dr. Harsha Alas, a member of the Presidential Task Force on Education, joins us to tell us how.
So basically, for active teaching and learning, you need to have a few things. Teach on one side, the student on the other side. Then you need the devices, a platform like Teams or Zoom or Google, and of course, connectivity. The problem in the rural sector, especially with the primary schools, is that they don't have connectivity, neither would they have devices. So at the moment, what can we do? Should we wait till everyone gets on board? No. Start with what we have. And I think every home today, they may not have a smartphone, but they will have a phone. Most homes will have a telephone. Then most homes will have a TV. So let's start with these two. Maybe some of the lessons can be shown through TV. through the government channels. And the teacher can connect with the students. I think the urgent thing is connecting the teacher and the student.
In Sri Lanka, you cannot kiss the bride anymore. According to COVID-19 guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health, even the groom can't kiss the bride, at least not in public. And the couple, like the rest of their 100 guests, which is the allowed number, must wear masks and stay 1 meter apart. There is to be no more kissing, no more hugging, and no more crowded group photographs. In 2019, musical icon Cher wrote and performed a song titled Walls. This was dedicated to Karvan, a Sri Lankan elephant who had been in chains for the past 30 years in an Islamabad zoo. The Islamabad High Court ordered wildlife officials to consult with Sri Lanka to find him a suitable sanctuary within 30 days. This is one of the greatest moments in my life, Cher said. This is the song she performed.
I don't wanna have to say this again. Something's gotta break hard and change, my friend. Everything that happened way back when just faded.
Italian fashion house Gucci became a game changer last week when it called fashion weeks obsolete and cut annual fashion shows from 5 to 2 to create seasonless collections, which will be only twice a year. The alligator, who was once thought to be owned by Hitler and survived the bombing of the Berlin Zoo in 1943, finally died at the ripe old age of 84. Welcome to the new look T10 cricket during COVID-19 being played in the Caribbean. No fans, no saliva, and hand sanitizer on the boundary. Former Indian captain Sourav Ganguly has a high chance of becoming the next chairman of the ICC. It may not be diamonds that give you the sparkle. Jordanian jewelers have designed some very interesting pendants inspired by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. This home cook has 1.5 million Instagram followers. Gordon Ramsay, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Jennifer Aniston are among them. But here's the thing. Kobe wine is 1 year old and as cute as a button. That's it for your news capsule this week. We return next with Let's Talk, and yes, we're going to talk about sex with Hans Billimore. There's no conversation, there's no discussion, and there's no education beyond the mandatory biology lesson. In Sri Lanka, more and more young people are sexually active. We may turn a blind eye to this and say it's culturally not possible, but it is. But the fact is that our young people have no concept about sex and its consequences, whether it's abuse, contraception, STDs, unplanned pregnancies, or abortions. And that is frightening. Sex education for adolescents is a concern globally. The lack of open conversation is a huge issue and has led to catastrophic consequences. On Let's Talk today is Hans Billimore, a member of the National Task Force on Cyber Exploitation set up by the National Child Protection Authority. He is part of the Grassrooted Trust, which works on sexual and reproduction health education, and he works with survivors of gender-based and intimate partner violence. So welcome to Kaleidoscope. Hans, why is sex such a dirty word in Sri Lanka?
I think sex is a dirty word because we have made it dirty. I think the key reason is probably patriarchy and religion and the values that have been handed down to us from Queen Victoria, but not to blame her, probably the laws that were framed around that time. And that has really bled into the attitudes and behavior that we have in Sri Lanka today. So I think those are the reasons that sex is so dirty and so difficult for us to deal with. Our body, we have become ashamed of our body and the natural processes.
So do you think it's something to do with our culture?
Those factors have definitely influenced our culture, and I often feel that in Sri Lanka we are quite a sort of pseudo conservative culture, as in we pretend to be conservative, but underneath the underbelly of Sri Lanka is not that conservative. And this leads to various issues in our society, which include not really reaching out for help when we need it in things related to sex and sexuality, for example. Now, recently, we had a young man come to us trying to learn what was going on with his penis because he was having a milky discharge. This young man should be able to walk into any health clinic in Sri Lanka and find that out for himself. He should not feel shame in reaching out for help. But unfortunately, with the way we have constructed things within this pseudo-conservative culture, that is the case for this young man and many others, both young women, not so young women, and men around the country.
But that is a dangerous place to be in when there is no open dialogue.
It is necessary to have open dialogue, and I think we need to ensure that, for example, what is existing in the health science textbooks is taught. We have quite a decent health and physical education curricula in terms of sex and reproduction. Our challenge is that the teachers do not have the requisite skills to teach that. Furthermore, our parents don't seem to be holding our teachers accountable, if you like, for teaching those subjects. I mean, health and physical education, in my experience, is the only subject where teachers get to decide not to teach a lesson, not to teach a lesson on HIV, not to teach a lesson on masturbation and body development. So imagine where teachers would decide not to teach a lesson on algebra or not to teach a geography lesson on Germany or England because that's inappropriate. So that kind of ridiculous approach, if you like, to our education system in terms of sex and reproduction, in terms of sexuality, is also something that we need to pay attention to. And I feel parents especially need to be key partners and stakeholders in this process.
So do you think we would ever have proper sex education in our curriculum?
If we train our teachers, if we trust our teachers, because we have the sex education, we have the curricula, like I said, we just don't have the teachers who are competent enough to teach it. So to do that, we have to spend a lot of time in making sure that our teachers come up to mark, and we need to make sure that our parents are open and accept that this is a dire need.
And we wait with bated breath for that day when we can have open dialogue on sex. Thank you very much, Hans Bilimoria. Coming up in Life in 60, we make some surprising and entrancing discoveries when some little people reveal what they loved about curfew. While some of us grumbled about being at home during curfew, there were some who found lots of things to love during that time. You'll be surprised at what there actually is to love in this next segment in Life in 60.
Hi, my name is Shivin. I'm 8.5 years old. My favorite thing about COVID-19 is watching TV, cooking, and playing with Nagi and neighbors.
Hi, my name is Misha and I'm 7 years old. And my favorite things in quarantine is playing Minecraft and staying with my family, baking and planting and cooking with my mom.
I'm 7 years old. I like playing with mommy and daddy at the rooftop.
My name is Matthew Kashira. I'm 9 years old. The best thing about curfew is I like to play with my Lego.
My name is Shannon. I am 7 years old. The best thing about COVID is playing with my neighbors, playing with my dog, swimming and cooking.
I'm Caleb. I'm 4 years old. I love playing in the garden with my nephew.
Technology is key in moving forward. to transform every challenging moment into a profit, where manual becomes digital, business becomes smart, and lives become smarter. People's Bank Online Corporate Banking. It's truly the change you need.
Thank you to the children who joined us in Life in 60 and gave us a reason to be optimistic in these bleak times. Shevin, Misha, Jace, Matthew, Shanine and Caleb. Also thank you to Hans Billy Moria of the Grassrooted Trust for joining us on Let's Talk, President of the Sri Lanka Association of Hairdressers and Beauticians, Nayana Karunaratna, and also the member of the Presidential Task Force on Education, Dr. Harsha Alas. So that's it on Kaleidoscope this week. Do let us know what you feel about the program and about anybody interesting you might like to see on the program too. Email us on kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com. So until next week, stay positive and keep that physical distance. It is worth it. Now, here's your Kaleidoscope takeaway. Believe you can, and you're halfway there.